So by the time the late 1970s rolled around, George Jones literally was ending his rope. He was bankrupt. He was doing heavy drugs. He was ruining himself in concert. But when this song came out, it was an optimistic look at what could be his future. And within 6 years, he made it. I think it's one of the saddest country songs, but in a positive light. It's called Someday My Day Will Come. Now, the Possum released it in 1979, and it reached number 22 in the charts, but did not make it in the top 20. Written by Earl Montgomery, Chris Ryder, V.L. Haywood, with Billy Sherrill as producer. Now, this came after Bartender's Blues and Before He Stopped Loving Her Today. Now, the song, according to legend, is an expression of eternal optimism in the face of great hardship. Was pointedly considered George's life was a mess at the time, addicted to alcohol and cocaine and missing shows at an astonishing rate. Lawsuits from promoters as well as other legal issues were piling up. In his memoir, George Jones, A Life and Times of a Honky-Tonk Legend, Bob Allen recalls that in February 1979, a federal bankruptcy judge ordered that the artists and songwriters' royalties, allegedly owed to George by CBS Records, UA Records, Papa Daily, and the Broadcast Music Institute, royalties in which case he already managed to sign away, be turned over to the court and applied towards payment of the beleaguered singer's $1.5 million in debts. Now, producer Sherrill shrewdly chose songs like Someday My Day Will Come that appeared to reflect the turmoil in his Jones' personal life, as he did with his duets with ex-wife Tammy Wynette, and later songs If Drinking Don't Kill Me, Remember It Will, and I've Aged 20 Years and 5. For his part, Jones didn't care, admitting his 95 autobiography, the press had made my personal life so public, so frequently for so long, that I didn't care what people knew, didn't know, or thought they knew about me. If folks bought my records because they thought it was breaking down, which I happened to be, so be it. Now, the Still the Same Old Me album was an optimistic cover. Like George Jones had started a trend within Canada States of what he called the country shirt. And you see George with his kind of half pompadour. Now, this album came out in 1981, but the single Someday My Day Will Come came out 2 years before. Now, Still the Same Old Me is an album by Jones, released in 81 on the Epic Records label. Still the Same Old Me built on the massive success of Jones' comeback single, You Stop Loving Her Today, and went to number 3 in Billboard's country album charts. Same Old Me, an anthem of survival and enduring love written by Paul Overstreet and featuring backing from the Oak Ridge Boys, peaked at now number 2 on the charts. Even more successful was the hardcore honky-tonk ballad, Still Doing Time, I've Been Living in Hell with a Bar for a Cell, which gave Jones a number 1 smash. The album also includes a duet with his daughter Georgette, was 10 years at the time on Daddy Come Home. The album track I Won't Need You Anymore would become a number 1 hit for Randy Travis in 87. Same Old Me was also an 89 documentary details the events of Jones's life and career. Now, although Jones was enjoying immense success at the time, having renegotiated his contract with CBS, he was still ravaging his body with alcohol and cocaine, and appeared frighteningly frail when he made TV appearances promoting the prophetic Someday My Day Will Come, especially in the Ronnie Prophet show. However, the same year that Still the Same Old Me came out, Jones met a 34-year-old divorcee named Nancy Sepulveda from Mansfield, Louisiana. Nancy, who neither drank nor took drugs, would eventually marry Jones, manage his career, and turn his troubled life around. Now, Still Doing Time, written by Michael P. Heaney and John E. Moffat. Couldn't Love Have Picked a Better Place to Die, Curly Putman and Bucky Jones. I Won't Need You Anymore, Troy Seals and Max D. Barnes. Bobby Braddock, who wrote Together Alone and Daddy Come Home. You Can't Get the Hell Out of Texas, written by John Hadley and Jim Stafford. Good Ones and Bad Ones by Joe Chambers and Larry Jenkins. Girl, You Sure Know How to Say Goodbye by Tom T. Hall. Someday My Day Will Come, Montgomery, Chris Ryder, and V.L. Haywood. And of course, Same Old Me, featuring the Oak Ridge Boys, written by the great Paul Overstreet. So most of the singles on the album were kind of medium length, some in 3 minutes. Now this went gold in the United States. Now AllMusic gave it a 3 stars out of 5, which I think is a rotten review. Now Still Doing Time was released 2 years after the initial single of Someday My Day Will Come. Now, the song was Jones' 8th number 1 country single as a solo artist. The single stayed at number one for 1 week, spent a total of 10 weeks on the chart. Much like his previous single, If Drinking Don't Kill Me or Memory Will, the song seemed torn from the pages of the singer's life. Drug-addled and paranoid, he often disappeared for weeks on end, missing show dates and confounding his managers. Still Doing Time, which is the story of a man who was a prisoner of alcohol who cannot escape, rang true to critics and fans, many of whom were astonished at how effectively Jones could sing despite his condition. Professionally, he was thriving. In November 1982, CBS extended his recording contract. In December, he was nominated in the Playboy Reader's Poll as the year's best male vocalist in a country and western category. So the song went number one in the States and number two in Canada, which was played endlessly, especially on Quebec FM stations. Now, Billy Sherrill, who passed away in 2015, unfortunately, he was a record producer, songwriter, arranger associated with numerous country artists, most notably Tammy and George. Sherrill and business partner Glenn Sutton are regarded as defining influences on their countrypolitan sound, a smooth amalgamation of pop and country music that was popular from the late 60s throughout the 70s. Sherrill also co-wrote many hit songs, Stand By Me, Stand By Your Man, written with Tammy Wynette, and The Most Beautiful Girl in the World, written with Rory Burke and Nora Wilson. Now, the native of Phil Campbell, Alabama, worked with the numerous artists through the years, especially Charlie Rich. His later career was he was the most reliable hitmaker in Nashville. Other artists with whom Sherrill worked with included Barbara Mandrell, Sandy Posey, Shelby Lynn, Marty Robbins, Ray Charles, Johnny Paycheck, Tanya Tucker, Johnny Cash, J.D. Fricky, Lacey J. Dalton, Ray Conniff, Bobby Vinton, Bob Lumen, Johnny Duncan, Jim and Jesse, Jody Miller, Mo Bandy, Joe Stampley, Charlie Walker, Barbara Fairchild, Andy Williams, Cliff Richard, The Minute You're Gone, Mickey Gilley, David Allen Coe. In 1981, he produced Costello's album Almost Blue. Unfortunately, the friction between Costello and Sherrill was aired in the British TV documentary, and I became vice president of CBS in Nashville. Now, he was inducted in Musicians Hall of Fame Museum in Nashville, Tennessee. He also selected for the induction of the Country Music Hall of Fame along with Don Williams, Fertile Husky, and Jimmy Dean. So, ladies and gentlemen, the amalgamation of George Jones from 1979 near death to the immense popularity he received in the late 70s, early 80s are just outstanding. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you like what we're doing here, we're a George Jones podcast. Let us know in the like, comment, subscribe, or share. And don't forget, there's only one Possum, and I do miss him. It's been over 10 years since he's passed. And I think the main thing we can say, what an interesting individual he was, and what a legacy he left to all of us. And, raise a beer tonight if you love George, and sing along if you got him. Have a good one. Bye.